Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back. For this entry here, it's not going to be about any specific film, but just more about the channel in general and where we're going to be kind of going from here. So, going into 2022, I had a few ideas about some content that I wanted to work in, things that I wanted to do with the channel. And for those who haven't been around or are maybe new to my channel, what I usually cover here, of course, is like 80s and 90s throwbacks. Usually titles that I don't really hear about much these days. Ones that I wonder if it actually held up or if it's any good, and I want to kind of revisit those. Also started covering a lot more horror because I'd kind of been raised with a lot of horror films and kind of fell out of it for a while, and have been trying to get back into it, both for the nostalgia factor, and it seems like horror has kind of gone through this explosion over the last 10 years. And along with that, of course, some retro horror. Revisiting some of the titles that I grew up with that are from like the 70s and 80s, the stuff that was really popular in home video, as well as going much further back and checking out some other franchises such as Hammer Films or anything that just is much older that I'd never checked out before. And of course, occasionally I put in a new film. I know that my channel is very small, so a lot of times with new films, if I put up a video, it's not going to get many views because the more established channels are really going to get all that traffic. But if I really do enjoy it, then sometimes I feel like just putting a video together anyways, even if it doesn't get a lot of views. But with all of those, of course, I try to only make videos about films that I really like and want to enjoy versus ones that I don't like, because I don't like the idea of, if I don't like a film, it may just not be for me. I may not be the target audience. I may have just not gone in with the right mindset. So it's for somebody else. There's no need for me to spend any more time talking about a film that I don't enjoy when I'll just let others kind of enjoy that. But yeah, with all of that, there were some exceptions, of course, when I was going through the Hammer films, where I basically was going to make a video for everyone that I watched, even if I didn't enjoy it. And also with the franchise revisits, I'd revisited the Friday the 13th franchise and the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. So for some of those movies, I hadn't seen them in years, and even if I didn't end up enjoying it, I figured I should make a video about it anyways to see if my views had changed from what I remembered from it. And it's definitely very interesting to go through some of those revisits. My opinions on a lot of those films had changed. Some of them I didn't like as much as I used to, and some, for some reason now years later, I ended up enjoying it much, much more. But so it's very interesting to kind of go through that and to still try to keep it in, like positive in general, even if I didn't end up enjoying the film. But yeah, it's been a very active year trying to fit in all of that. So here's some info about what's basically happened with the channel over this year, as to kind of keep in mind going into 2023. So total videos here, like for the reviews and recommendations in general, and there were a few entries that had more than one film in it. Made 95 videos roughly. If you add another 15 random ones like about my cat or vlog type entries, that's at about 110 videos, which is quite a bit. Some of them did really well and some not so well. So the best performing one, surprising to me, was Dracula Has Risen from the Grave. This one had about 956 views, and it didn't start off doing that great. Just somewhere a few months ago it started taking off, where I was getting 20 or 30 views every week on it, and now it's up to 956. Might even be higher by the time you watch this video, but it's definitely going to be my first one across 1,000 when it comes to the reviews and recommendations, because I had to take out some of those ones that were kind of like those freak spikes that would happen, such as one that I put up with my cat that for some reason YouTube promoted it somewhere, and in the first hour it got over 3,000 views. So that kind of throws off the stats. But anyways, and within my top 25, 16 of those movies were the Hammer films that I'd gone through. I feel like I really found an audience with that there were people who hadn't seen those movies for a long time, or maybe they grew up with them and there's not a lot of content about it. So people just kept coming to those Hammer films. And out of those top 5, 4 of those, or out of that top 25, in the top 5, 4 of those were Hammer films as well, all of which were their vampire films, the Dracula-based ones. So that kind of tells me that people like that older stuff. They like seeing something that they don't find 50 other channels with the same content. It was very surprising, this whole experience, because, first that set that I got, that I, said last year I was going to do a video on each one. It turned out not to be all horror. There were some thrillers in there, a lot of dramas, and even there was a comedy in there as well. And surprising enough to me, the one that I liked the most out of that set, as I said in my little wrap-up video, was Cash on Demand starring Peter Cushing, and it wasn't even a horror film. It was just one that I really enjoyed for some reason. And then of course after that I kind of dove into going through all the Hammer Dracula films and Frankenstein films. They all had their ups and downs. It was a really great journey to check those out. Another great journey was going through the Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street franchises again. It was really cool. Some of those titles I hadn't seen in well over 10 years. But also it's cool checking out some new titles and putting up some videos for them, like Everything Everywhere All at Once. I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed that and how big of a hit that ended up becoming. The Hellraiser 2022 that was released on Hulu, I guess call it the 2022 version. I was really surprised again with that one that I enjoyed it, as much as I did. I thought that Jamie Clayton did an excellent job. Prey was another one, went straight to Hulu. I would have gladly seen Prey in the theater. I thought it was a great way to change up the Predator franchise some and open up some more doors to other avenues that we can explore in film as far as when the Predator would have visited our planet and hunted people. And then also the Black Phone was just, I really loved that one as well. I thought everybody did an amazing job on that. And there were, several others that kind of, stood out along the way as well. But, they were not all winners though. Now, I already talked about my best performing videos as Dracula ones, but my worst performing video was for the 2021 film Lady of the Manor, which only got 16 views, even though I enjoyed the film. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was really campy and cheesy, and it was all filmed, or at least I believe the majority of it was filmed in the Tampa Bay area, so I recognized a lot of those locations. But also the Netflix entry in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series now, I enjoyed it. People didn't care for that video, as well as when I revisited Last Action Hero, old Schwarzenegger one from the 90s, and one of the Hammer films, The Snorkel. Not only did I not like it, nobody cared about that video. It got like, I think 15 views or probably less. But but across, all those ups and downs, the subscribers went kind of crazy. So when it comes to the subscribers, I gained about 134 subscribers last year, bringing me to, at the time of this video, about 182. And that last 82 came in really quickly. I crossed 100 sometime late August, early September, and then next thing you know, that next 82 just came in. It's like something kind of clicked when you cross 100, and it started building an audience really quick. But as far as, my actual experience making these videos, I've definitely had a great time working on this. My only regret is setting some specific schedules in place that were very difficult to keep up with. Especially, by the time September came around, I was doing a video a week on Nightmare on Elm Street and a video a week on, I believe I was either finishing up the Dracula Hammer films or maybe I'd already started the Frankenstein ones. So I was kind of committing to doing at least 2 videos a week because I wanted all those Nightmare on Elm Street ones to kind of get to the point where the final video in it would wrap up Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th on Halloween with Freddy vs. Jason. So I really had to stick with that schedule. It was very difficult to kind of, keep that consistency. And all of this, there were some health issues I was having this last year, which, made things very, very difficult. But, it basically have gotten a bit better and everything, and it's easier to keep up with the pace, I think, going forward. But as far as what I have in store, what I have planned for 2023, well, first off, more Hammer. I did get a little burnt out on Hammer last year because I did, I think, 36 videos, and that's about 40 movies that I'd watched. And, again, not all of them were good, but I did need to take a little break there for a couple of months. I think the last one I did was in early November or late October. But I'm definitely ready to go back in, have a list of some of Hammer's top films that I would like to check out. I believe I have about 5 or 8 of them available, so it'd be interesting to check those out. That if those are considered like the best of their work, then I have a feeling it's going to be a really good experience and a good video worth making. Let's see here. I want to do more retro horror. Recently I had rewatched From Beyond, starring Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton and Ken Foree, and really had a great time. I hadn't seen that one since, home video, like VHS days. But I want to get into more of the 70s and 80s stuff, especially some of that straight-to-video stuff that was really popular when I was growing up. I also want to get more new stuff. Back in 2021, I was doing, on some cases, it was almost a video a week on some new release on Shudder that I really enjoyed. And I want to get back into doing some of that, checking out some of the new horror, especially new stuff coming to, places like Shudder and all that. I also want to do more franchise revisits. I did the Nightmare on Elm Street and, Friday the 13th ones. I already did the Halloween ones in late 2021. But I think the next one I do is probably going to be for the Scream films because, of course, the first one I remember the most, but I haven't seen part 3 or 4 since they were originally released, and I still haven't seen part 5. And part 6, I believe, if I have the numbering lined up, is coming out in early March, I believe. So it'd be nice to kind of revisit all of that before I check out that newest entry. Plus, there's some other ones out there. I was also thinking about doing some for remakes. You know, people get kind of weird about remakes. For me, I consider it like a play. We might get a new director, a new writer, a new cast to kind of interpret this work differently. Some productions work, some really don't. But, you know, if you just kind of view them without that comparison to the original, can you enjoy them? Because I feel that there are a lot of remakes worth enjoying, even if they're not as good as the original, to just have another story with those characters in that situation. I also want to do sequels that have kind of been in the long run. So, for instance, we've had a lot of cases in recent years where they make a sequel to something that came out more than 10 years earlier, that it took them forever, in some cases almost 30 years, and then they finally pump out the sequel or prequel to it. And I want to, you know, kind of cover some of those, you know, especially because it's been so long. As well as speaking of some longer format stuff too. I've been planning for a while now, and I think I've spoken about it, or, you know, said something on social media about doing like a longer entry instead of that, you know, 5 to 8 minute kind of typical review that I do. Is something that is 15 to 20 minutes and isn't as much of a review as just finding a film or a franchise that I really enjoy and doing a much longer video about everything that I love about it, including a ton of spoiler information. But yeah, that's because that last one that I was talking about, I hoped to have it out last October and just didn't work out for various reasons. Still working on it, but yeah, there's a lot that's kind of being planned with all that. So as for the schedule, you know, I'm still going to keep up with trying to do at least one a week, preferably two. I'd like to do a Monday and a Friday, occasionally work in a third one, maybe do a new one on a Saturday, or just some random one-off on a Wednesday every now and then. I might kind of save those Fridays for like Hammer and Universal and any of the older horror stuff, with maybe a new horror, like something from Shudder, for like a Saturday afternoon and so on. But yeah, I want to try to fit all that in. But the other thing I wanted to say in this video was to give a big thank you to all of my subscribers, because you know, so many people hopped on board this year, as well as ones who've been sticking around since the beginning and everything. The ones who've, you know, shared the content, really engaged in the comments and the posts, you know, stayed around to the end of the video. Because as I've said in one of my recent videos, I forget which one it was, that I kind of put this spiel toward the end of it, but you know, all that stuff really helps. You know, no channels grow kind of unattended, so to speak, or without being cultivated. There's nothing organic from what I've seen in YouTube. Things don't just randomly happen. Like, you really need to take those steps, and you need to have that engagement with the audience. But really, when you hop in within that first hour to watch the video, when you stick around to the end, when you give it a thumbs up, if you share it around, all those things, you know, if you're leaving comments, all of those things tell the algorithm that this is content worth sharing, and then that makes the video grow, which makes the channel grow. And that's how I got 130 something extra subscribers, which may not sound like a lot, but I started the year at less than 50, I believe. So that's quite a lot of growth, all because of the subscribers and the viewers have been coming back and watching them within that first hour, sticking around to the end. All those things. It really does help out a lot. That's why so many YouTubers say it somewhere within their video, and you know, why it's so important and why they always have to do that. It can be very annoying to hear it over and over again. Be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to like and subscribe. But it really does help. Honestly, all the channel growth is because of the viewers, and I just want to thank everybody for that. But yeah, so this is just a quick rundown of what's been happening on the channel, what happened this year, what I've planned going on for next year. And that big thanks to all of you who are, you know, helping to build this. And as per usual, thanks for stopping by and sticking around to the end. And I will see you in 2023, the future, which I wonder if we'll have flying cars by then, or maybe The Abyss on Blu-ray. Thinking that the flying cars will come first. Anyways, I will see you in the next one in 2023.